This is Witch-based news for Friday the 10th of April 2026. I'm Commander Buur. In Elite Dangerous news this week, we drill into the communication strategy Frontier has adopted since the cancellation of the Frontier Unlocked live streams last year and analyse where it sits now as we await news on the launch of operations. If you enjoy our videos, consider subscribing to the channel and remember to ding the little bell to make sure you see all our content and community posts. And if you'd like to help support our channel, links to our Patreon and everything else are in the description below. On the 27th of August last year, after a year and a half of well received and informative live streams, Frontier officially cancelled Frontier Unlocked. When Frontier Unlocked started on the 31st of January 2024, it couldn't have arrived at a more timely moment. The company was in the midst of some well documented financial dire straits after a few years of failed publishing initiatives and disappointing game launches. Echoing the fortunes of its parent, Elite Dangerous was also in a very challenging position. Whilst the horrors of the Odyssey launch debacle from 2021 were beginning to fade, any plans the company had for their venerable genre-defining space simulator in the medium or long term were still being kept infuriatingly close to FDEVs' chest. This fact, coupled with the very apparent lack of meaningful monetization the game was seeing, led many players to believe that the game's end was near, and without any countering argument from the game's publishers, it was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore the cries of dead game from those in the surrounding gamosphere that would wish to do Elite Dangerous harm. When you factor into the frame the commercial successes of Elite's great rival games in the same space, no pun intended, that's X4, Starfield, No Man's Sky and, in particular, Star Citizen, it was easy at the time to understand the growing volume of that rhetoric. Salvation for Elite Dangerous was, however, just around the corner. Salvation, see what I did there? With the arrival of Frontier Unlocked and its monthly updates, interviews and sneak peeks on what was coming next, also came the long overdue rethink on how FDEV monetised the live service, live development space drain on the company coffers that is Elite Dangerous. And we entered the era of early access, but not perma-locked behind a paywall, ships. And for a glorious 18 months or so it all ran alongside itself, a nice feedback loop of community engagement, monetised ships, new feature hype and new feature delivery, and round we went. It's a tried, trusted and proven loop across many games going back just as many years, everybody getting what they wanted and needed from the commercial reality of a live service game. Community was happy and growing in a way that it hadn't been for years, the features and the hype were rolling in, the company coffers, seen in their publicly available financial reports, were swelling. And then, on the 27th of August 2025, following the recent departure of community lead and Elite Dangerous champion at FDEV, Arthur Tolmie, the feedback loop was broken. After a couple of months of Frontier Unlocked attempting to continue without its frontman, instead of the regular last Wednesday livestream, Frontier instead announced in its place the cessation of the flagship show. The announcement stated that the company was excited to announce that the monthly updates from Frontier Unlocked would be ending and that they would instead be bringing the community announcements in what they described as a less time restricted way, adding that the community shouldn't worry as, quote, "you'll still get your regular cadence of Elite information including behind the scenes information, reveals, concept art and more," end quote. As I mentioned, it's been over 7 months since Frontier Unlocked ended with that surprise announcement on Twitter, and after such a length of time has elapsed, we're now in a position to look at specifically what that announcement promised and what has been delivered, both in terms of content and updates into the game and the anticipated communication cadence from Frontier around that content and update delivery. I use the phrase anticipated communication cadence from Frontier very deliberately. Anyone who's been following Elite Dangerous for the length of time that we have will likely attest that a regular cadence in their communications is not something that the Cambridge-based development and publishing house has excelled at historically, particularly in the realm of a live service environment like the one that Elite Dangerous finds itself in. While Frontier framed the move as an exciting change featuring more flexible communication, the Elite Dangerous community, rightly or wrongly, read between the lines, and for many commanders it wasn't an upgrade but rather a downgrade, reigniting a long-standing trust deficit that existed between FDEV and its players, leaving many feeling that while the studio is still happy to push arcs and ship sales, they're likely to become increasingly distant when it comes to transparency and face-to-face engagement. This is also a rabbit hole that we ourselves had started down in the last few weeks, as FDEV had been seemingly very quiet in general since the start of the year, and there's no getting away from the fact that without the monthly live stream, things have been more quiet than not in the 7 months since its cancellation. We do now, however, have the benefit of hindsight on that announcement and can look at the statistics around what Frontier has said and done since those times and put some cold numbers against those expectations. Indeed, as though to lean into the general trend of community fears following the cancellation of Frontier Unlocked, the official Elite Dangerous account on Twitter has tweeted about sales on the Arc store, on Steam, or about new ships that are on sale no less than 71 times. The reality of the situation is, however, rather more nuanced. Since Frontier Unlocked was cancelled, FDEV have published a total of 6 videos to the Elite Dangerous YouTube channel. Those videos have followed a very specific and now predictable rhythm. That rhythm has been a devlog talking about new features and a new ship, followed by a separate trailer for the launch of that ship. Roughly 2 months later there is another devlog, again talking about new features and a new ship, followed again by a trailer for the new ship's launch. The last devlog and trailer combo being the log on the 16th of February, which laid out the roadmap for the year ahead, updated on the state of colonisation, and featured interviews with the developers talking about the Kestrel Mark II and the upcoming operations update, which was delayed from the end of last year and is currently scheduled to arrive this month, and of course the Kestrel launch trailer, which arrived a few days later on the 24th of February. If FDEV are able to hold to that cadence, you can likely expect a new devlog sometime in the next 2 to 6 weeks, talking about operations and the next new ship, which is also due in April, and then a trailer for that new ship when it launches a few days later. During the same 7-month period that those 3 devlogs and 3 trailers have been released, the weekly Stellar Screenshots competition has continued unabated, which sees a short weekly montage of the winners' screenies released onto social media. Also, since August the 27th, the cadence of Galnet news items released into the game has continued. These are also highlighted on social media, and those news pieces, slowly filling in the evolving narrative for the galaxy, are published on average roughly once a week. Contrary to our own expectations here when going into making this video, Frontier's output of information remains relatively steady, only the cadence has changed. They've traded in monthly live streams in favour of infrequent, highly curated info dumps, and whilst this allows for tighter messaging and preparation at a corporate level, as well as an overall slicker presentation when it reaches the community's face, it has the knock-on effect of creating massive gaps in community interaction. This infrequent approach is almost certainly easier on manpower, and given the limited resources that FDEV are working with, that is a very important consideration that shouldn't be hand-waved away. The primary drawback to Frontier's current communication strategy is the informational vacuum that forms between major milestones. When the studio isn't mid-launch, the official voice shifts almost exclusively to the storefront, resulting in a feed dominated by ARCs promotions and microtransactions. While it's a relief to be past the dark days of 2020, we've traded total silence for a boom and bust communication cycle. This creates sharp peaks of excitement followed by long troughs of perceived abandonment, which directly correlates to the fluctuating engagement levels of the player base. I understand the corporate instinct to stay heads down until a feature is polished, and I'm not unsympathetic to it, but this approach does the game a huge disservice and doesn't capitalise on the huge amount of dev work, story and content that is still constantly evolving in our much beloved 11+ year old game and galaxy. Frontier is sitting on a loyal and thirsty partner program, as well as an infused and motivated community of forumites, redditors, bleaters and tweeters on social media. Elite Dangerous doesn't need a high budget marketing campaign every month. It just needs a consistent breadcrumb trail. A simple bi-weekly forum post, a single screenshot of a work in progress ship, a teaser of a new mechanic or a cryptic lore hint is all it takes between the huge info dumps. The community as a whole would take those nuggets and spin them into hours of discussion, bleats, tweets, videos and streams, effectively handling Frontier's community engagement in the in-between times for them. Through the engineering rethink, supercruise overcharge, NPC overhaul, power play and colonisation to name but a few, and now the highly anticipated operations update, Frontier has clearly shown that they still have the vision to create great content. The final piece of the puzzle is simply finding a way to stay in the room with us while they build it. By bridging these quiet gaps, they could transform the current cycle of boom and bust communications into much more of a smoother journey that keeps the galaxy feeling alive for everyone. Operations is still currently scheduled for a release this month. As soon as we hear any more about it, we will of course let you know right here. How have you felt about FDEVs comms since the cancellation of Frontier Unlocked? What specific nuggets of work in progress info would you like to see between the big updates? And what changes could Frontier make to their comms that would make the biggest difference to you? Let us know in the comments below. That's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back later this week with more videos. Until then, 07 Commanders, follow the greens on the way out and do keep clear of the toast rack. We very much look forward to seeing you next time.